Hello techies, I'm Divya here. On behalf of CyberBrainer, don't you think the world of tech is evolving faster than ever? Now is the perfect time to dive in and build the skills that will take you places. With CyberBrainer, we are putting you in the driver's seat of your own future. We at CyberBrainer don't just teach your interest. We believe that knowledge is power, but it's applied knowledge that truly sets you apart. Whether you're diving into data science, mastering artificial intelligence, or exploring the world of cybersecurity, our courses are designed to give you the skills that matter. So let's jump into the session and make the future yours today. Thank you.
The school management API. The requirement is like this. That has to do the already existing students' information. The same thing we developed, right? I think earlier we developed product APIs. That's right. The similar lines, this AP, I need to take care of the student information and they may stop working in a school, like teachers, non-teaching staff and teaching staff and different kinds of people. Employees who are practicing it to manage the employee information also. And school will have different kinds of events like examinations and some kind of culture events, right? They need to manage the events also. They need to create a new event and retrieve all the events happening in a particular month or something like that, and they want to update the event. They have to manage the events happening in the school, right? They need to manage these three objects. One is new students information, employee information, and event information. And we start designing that stuff. And first of all, what we do is we need to identify how these objects look like, how the student object look like, what are the different properties of student, right? That is called data model design. Maybe it involves the backend data model or backend database or backend design also. We need to take into consideration how we are storing the information in the backend. Based on that, we develop the API also. This API part of the different fields of student. In this example, like that, student has a unique number, student number, and student has a name and the class in which he is studying and student age or date at birth or GPA. Something. These parameters, it depends upon the requirement, right? And for employee, also employee ID, employee name. School means the major take it to teacher is the primary employee in the school. I can be a teacher, ID teacher name, subject, that teacher teaches, and teacher qualification and teacher designation, the senior teacher, or something like that. These are different properties of the teacher. I recommend you go to this site. This is very, very important. I hope you already visit, or if not visit, please visit this site. This is the primary document, fundamental document used to start learning, but initially seems complex. But this document covers the entire ML stuff. Simple ML. Alright. Lerman. This document, based on this document, today we're going to discuss, but afterwards, after session, I recommend you go through this document if you have time. Then come back to our example. We need to design the data model, data object. Far we developed a few APIs like product API or order API. Then we didn't define any data model for the order or product. Just to define simple ramen. In today's example, what we're going to do is we identify the resource type and we design the resource also. This is called like a resource type. Resource is not resource type. We like resource type. The corresponding data type of resource. This is the data type of resource. Data type of resource. Because resource is not a string or integer. It's not that kind of type. Resource is an object type. Similarly, it's a custom object. We need to define the custom object type in RAML. Let me go through the endpoint. Create new. Create new here. One is new API split and new fragment. These two are there. We made the design of API split. But what's a fragment is? What we can do is you can define the data types of those things you bundle in one fragment. And you can use that fragment in multiple API splits. Fragment is kind of reusable unit. Reusable. We discussed fragment in different examples. I don't want to discuss all the concepts in one example. I will discuss in fragment in next example. But just remember, fragment is part of API is a subset of API. Using fragments, we can build API. But fragment is just a part. It's not a complete data set. You can create a fragment and you can use fragment in multiple APIs. If you're using the same kind of stuff, you're using multiple APIs. In that case, you create that as a fragment. By seeing example, you can understand. But as of just keep in mind that fragment is a kind of subset of API. Now we're going to create a new API split. Here I can use that. First, I need to identify the objects, the resources. In this API, there are three resources. One is students. The best practice is we need to define the resource in plural, not singular. We can define singular, but it's not the best practice. It's not the best practice. We define it as, I think, plural. Students. For students, I want to create a new student. I use the method post type. I just take it as a Slack. This is student type. What I can do is I needed to define the data type for the student, right? For that, what I'm doing is I'm creating one folder in my AP. I split to create a folder. Let's see how it clicks. And create a folder. In this folder, I will store all my data types, my custom types. I'm naming it as a data. In this folder, I'm creating a student type. Now see, this file is not a specification file. Specification file means this is the root file where we have resource definition, all the definition. But this file is singular data type, right? Data. You're right. Data type file. Data. And what? data type. It defines the student type. This is of type of object. This type of object type is not a digit type. And it has properties. Properties, right. Yeah. Now I'm keeping the properties. This property is over here. Let me show the alignment procedure. I have a question, Jeans. I understand you already know what contains in the student and object. You already know. But when you're getting a requirement, a case like a real work, how do you know all the object names that you need to design or you need to create this? An alignment to get this. In real example, a real work situation. Right now, we're practicing this because you already know what contains in the object, right? Because this is something that we already plan as a lesson. But when you have a real case situation at work, do they provide all these object informations, or you know how do you get the object information when you have a case? This is a good question. This actually is related to data model design. It's very key information. What is the information that is traveling between different API layers from system API to process API to application, etc.? It's an experience API. What information is flowing between these API layers? If you say a system API, right? If you're going to, storing this information to database directly to the CLS first, then you design this object model based on the backend. What is the database table structure? Based on that, you set these fields. What information is going to store into the database, right? This information ultimately stores the backend database. Then relatively this is equal to the table, right? Based on that backend data model, you design this. They will provide you the information. They will tell you this is what information is going to be saved. There are multiple ways you can define this. Ask. See, you can define like this, or you can define student number. Is that field, right? The student number is supposed to be a number or string, or not a string, a number or integer. That depends upon your design. To make majorly, we take the integers when it is a character field like local marks. That one, right? But the number, we don't calculate anything, but usually it keeps a field number as a number, but we take as a string, right? This is one way of representing a field. Student member. What is the type of the? You know this. This field is a string field. And it is required, which is mandatory. This is another way of representing this. The same information student. The type of the student name is string. And if you want to represent, this is mandatory, by default is mandatory. If you want to see, if you want to make this an optional, then question mark work here. Question mark means this is an optional field. If your client doesn't send this field also, it's right. This is the other way of representation. These are all things given in Rameltov. If you go through Rameltov, you'll get information. How to make something and see. Here there are other C parameter. You come here to see how the layout, right? How it's one way. Users and user is a data type where this kind of object, that is the properties. User has two properties. First name, last name. This first name, last name, string age is a number. This is one way of representing. See here, organization has the two properties. This is again one more product. Manager again one more. Manager, manager. Manager, manager. Manager type of person. Person is again one more thing. Person has first name. Like this, you can define your data type. Organization has a lot of different ways. Manager, right? Manager is a kind of person and person information. Just I want to tell you how the objects are defined in your Rameltov. Object means a student object or teacher object or any kind of object. How would they syntactically? How we define that object? Define an object, the type is of object type. In my example also I took type is an object. What is object type? You see, this is the student type, right? Student type is object type. And it has two properties. What are properties? It has a student number, student name, class, age and GPA. It's the definition of the student, right? And I want to make use of this definition in my Rameltov. What I do is for that I need to first import that definition to my Rameltov. What is the definition? And the type is defined. For that we have the again type is not here. Types, I define the type name as student. And you can define any name student type. I want to include this ML over here. Just a summation point. Now in the student, I want to create a new student. For that I need to use a method called post with the type. And the post has a body. And I supply my information, JSON format. And here I can use that type of what type. Here there are two types array, integer, boolean object. It is student type. Already we defined student type. Oh, it already tells you. Now this will point to this type. And this again refers to this Rameltov. This Rameltov is this file. Write this information. And the file has the type, object and the properties. Now I want to define get method properties on the students. You don't want to provide example in here. We can provide examples also. Get response. I will make a response. First time we see the happy font, we see the error font also. Get as body. What is the JSON type? Student type. The get returns all the students in your school, right? This is not a huge student. You don't want to replace the student type. A get down students returns all the students in the class or school. That is array. Array you represent like this. Collection of students. This is the representation of array. Now you want to define example for students. Those examples, I defined different folder for my readable J purpose. One more folder, an example folder. I'm getting a file. This file is of example file. For example, student. For example, let me copy from other API. I don't want to waste your time. I can explain this already built API, but that doesn't use. I'm ready. Based on that, already defined the resource type of complete API. But I want to show you the how this API got defined. I like that. In front of you, it takes a little time, but there's a huge computer idea of how we are defining the AP. Such a matter. Now I give an example. I define example. It's example JSON. Now I want to include this example. The date. What I can do. Come over here. Absolutely. I'm attaching the example to the data type. I like that. This is a better organization than like a first time. We were learning, but we're doing all that in the specification. This is better. See, if you see, there are two methods on the API. One is resource, this resource. When the post method defined and get method defined. If you see the get method, I got an response. But as of now, only one student is there. And example. I have students, right? The type is student type. And that's the file, right? Where I define is student information, how the students would like. Under the get method here, the type is a student type and it's array. You didn't say like, for example, like include. You didn't pass it as a file. You pass it as an array. How does it know that? It needs to go back to the information in the file. You are saying this is array. Why you define it as an array? This is array. But somehow it knows that you need to fetch it from the file, right? The JSON file. That's what, right? We are defining the student this type over here. And further, I'm attaching this file, this file, this file. Are we seeing that it's array? See, here I'm defining. See, if I don't define an array, it returns a single object. See, it's not an, it has single statement. But other resource and the resource if you are getting, but you say get method, it is all the student's information, not a single student information, not a specific student information, but you want to get a specific student information. In a school, there are 100 students. You want only the student information with name Ahmad or ID some ID. In that case, you need to define sub-resource. The other day we discussed it, right? Sub-resource under the main resource like student slash. Oh, this is the UI. On the UI you pass slash 6 means I want to get the information with number 6. Now go back to the documentation. You can find that student slash student ID. I'm enclosing this in a curly braces, but because this has to be, center runtime. Right? Now I want to define this thing. How I define student search when, daddy, if I want to get a specific information and you said get method, right? Get method same follows. It has the responses. Response at 200 body JSON type. I want to worry over here because I'm passing this information. ID whichever student I want, that I'll get only that student information. That's the only one. But here get returns all students' information inside the student. If I see get it returns only a single example. There's no curly braces in closing. There are no square brackets. Right? There's no UI. This is a get method. Now you will get something. I need to define the teacher information. I have in the school, there are teachers. For we define the endpoints and data types. All this related to the student. Now I want to define the single kind of this resource for the teacher also. First I'm getting the teacher type. And then I'm getting the check type. I noticed Rama, everything is lowercase. That's the best practice. You can get it higher case. That's not wrong. But usually corporations follow everything in lowercase and best practice. This is the teacher type. Properties. You can even do the example. Let's see if I can find a different example. And a specification that you put in the example. You got to change the type of file. You had it on the specification. But that doesn't matter. I'm removing that. That will see a specification file, right? It creates something like a Rama 1.2. This indicates the specification file. Oh, I thought we're going to see the type. This is the specified. I know. But if you right click on the teacher, is there a way you can edit? Can you edit this? I can edit this, no problem. But I removed that line, right? It's no more specified. Earlier you were choosing like example as a type. You're saying that you can go by default and then remove the top. The first line. I can put that one. That's like a different. You don't have to delete teacher. If I create a new example, right? I know this example. Last time. I can get something in this new example. I can put this field on the other one. If you want, I can put this. That's the new example. It's good practice actually. You can keep that one. There's no piece. This file is an example. It says this is an example. I'm seeing the header. You can say that. What's this file? Tab cc. Data type file. Example file. If you don't have anything, example, only ramen on point, you expect fight. There's nothing. Example. I think I need an example. You are doing the teacher. I want to give you an example to the teacher. Data type. Now come over here. You call that data type, right? Or you call it types. That's for example each. No, I different teacher type and example, but I'm not using this type in my spectrum for. For my spectrum is only the resources to students only. There are no teacher resource defined in this spectrum. I want to define the teacher resource, but that I'm importing the student teacher type first. You see where the type include. Not a type. This thing, you can name it any type. It's not, you can do any name. No, I want different teacher resources. We can use that. We can reuse that. I just changed the. I need to. Teacher type. I did. In your API, if you have we may have my block just like teachers, students, eBay's, blah blah blah. Some more objects, but everything will be different like this. For clearly have any questions for? What? Now, if you observe these two objects, teachers and students, there are much similarity. Much similarity. Can we reuse? Can we define this model quite efficiently by defining some kind of templates and stuff? See, let me copy this thing. See, each of the different has similar kind of everything similar. Just, the resource name is different and the type we are passing is different. That's it. Everything is similar. Can we have some kind of mechanism? What I'm going to say is I want to define this structure and I want to make use of the structure. See, get responses to 100 body cases and different types of things. What I meant is, I want to define this structure and just have a pass instead of, putting student type in hard coding over here. What I do is I just put something like this. I will pass that type. I will pass the type where we are using this structure. I will pass what kind of type it want to be. If I pass the student type will come over here. If I pass the teacher type will come over here. If I build this kind of structure, this is called TIT. TIT is a reusable structure. Reusable structure for the methods. Methods for get, post, get. This will be a TI, reusable structure. I can define a TRD like this. And whatever type I will pass, that type will come and replace over here. That we can build the API. Let me include the TIT. Now what I'm doing is I'm creating it in one more folder, TIT folder. Right. TIT folder. One. I like how everything is being like cool, is it? I don't know. This one. Response collection. This one giving a name as response collection. It is the collection of responses, collection of students, collection of teachers. It is a summary. I'm defining like this. And what response? This one. Now what I want to do is I want to add this TIT to the Instead of passing this, I want to put it here. You can do anything over here, type or whatever. It's getting a lot simpler now. Get ease of this type. What is a type? This is my response. Get ease of response collection type. What is the response collection type? It refers to that one. Collection response collection. This is the string, right? Here, I need to pass the type also. What's type? First type you need to pass. See, the type is some kind of, placeholder. Type placeholder defined in this type, which is response collection type. See the response collection type. There is some placeholder, right? This has to be replaced. This has to be replaced by which? By what we replace this one? This type. That has to be replaced over here with the student type. Because we are under the student resource. Student resource, that is the student type. What I can do is I simply copy this thing. I can put it in. I can put this in that string. Student type, what is possible? It will be teacher type. Now get ease. Now I want to define one more type for a specific student. This collection of, students are collection of teachers, right? I want to define a type for a specific student. Sorry, a specific student or specific employee. This one. Here I am creating one more type. What can I do here? Student. I can't give a student a teacher because it's a generalized thing, right? A specific person, something like that. A person, it might be student or might be student. For inheritance, a specific person, right? It's a student type. What I'm doing is I'm giving some placeholder. But this time it's not our array. It's a student. Specific return, specific type of variable. This is this type. I'm importing over here the type section. This one, there's a space before the column. Is that normal? The column is normal. You need to put the column. This one right. You're asking for. Like earlier, like a student type or teacher type, it was a column immediately after the word. But here there's a space. I can put space or I can put a variable. It doesn't matter, right? No, it doesn't matter. I define this type. I want to make it this type higher. I'm removing this thing. And what you can do is get, this is one syntax and some people use that. They put higher this one. Some square brackets. Right. You could either say get is responsible and response collection trait, or you can say get or you have to use is all the time. Easy for using for applying type. Easy keyword for applying a type. A name method. You can use a hyphen and put in 30 or you can put square brackets. Either one. Either one. I can use the same one node here. I can go back to that. This response on the start. All the guts. Do it right now. Look at this right now. The specification is very clean right now. Yes, right? But they have to create all these files. One-time job. See now. I hope you got the idea of what is a type. Type is a simple example unit. That's right. That has to be a method. And we can reuse wherever you want. Just pass the type, right? That is called a type. Student get post. Student ID get teacher. What type? %. This is 8%. If you create a hammer, it's either you create a student or you create a teacher, right? In the 8% type, what I do is, it's such a first. Right? It's not specific type, I mean this one. But it's a great person. Right? I can use this one. most things. Is the first time to put a person over here. Right. I to pass the to teach you. I think I'm applying. Now that is the ability and usability of your code, right? Oh, tomorrow you want to get an even, just you get an even. Now you can use the same type for even downside. But same type, even just you to create even type and even example. That you don't want to define this creative and go ahead and create the response. Everything is just to make use of this right and just pass the event. This could not be created by good, for good, quickly, easily. You make my job easy. Many people expert the countries a lot over here. I think the thing is that I like how you organized. You have to have a file type. An example, for example. Entry. That's the three type files you need, right? You need a data. You know what do you call the type of data type? That's what I want to learn that a subfile. The second one is that an example time. An example is optional. You want to know something you want to showcase to your client. In that case, if you had example, you can see, you can mark your API. You can showcase how you are in the software. And the third one is the trait type. And then the main root file. This is the one. Is that one you have right now, master file. This master file is a specification file. And then when you configure it, you go up all the way up. Can you go all the way up after you say that? After you give the title, you type. You type all the types. All the types. Then all the trades. And then we define the resources where the Boston gets and you say is and post is and create. If you post it, we create. You say create person trait. You can name it. Oh, that one is whatever that you have a type. You're right. And the under post you say is create personal trait when you highlight it. And that has to be put into whatever the type was. This one is one different to this. Oh, under trait and trait. You say is under the traits and the type will equal to the whatever the type you pass in. This in this case is student type because the resource is student. and you do get is, and you say this is the responser collection trade. You have that already there, and you say type, student type. And these are your eyes because we're looking for a specific student ID. Then we say get is a get, and you say return the right. You create the also returned specific trade, and the time is a student ID, and you do the rest for the other resources. This is good if you know that all the return, all the JSON examples are the same. If the JSON examples are not the same, you can do this right. See, you are defining the data types and examples different for the site. See this data type folder. I will define all the student types, teacher type, and example folder. I have some examples. You tomorrow. The management asked me to create an event type event resource. I can create a data type or even type of event type there. What is the event type? What is event type? Is a core type of object. Even has some properties. It's a different property than other ones. Student teacher. These are even. An even example, that is your example. You can add example here with an option. Example makes you a bit responsive. You can test without the plumbing also. But it's not in my data. No, all the examples are optional. And now I want to build an event, even the event. What I want to do is I just come over here, screwdriver. First I import the event. See what I can do is, just read them. This is a get. Or, I did not know define the events. Just a possible way. My job is done. This time you didn't define an example. The descent over the edges, I can't. I can't see even how even get and post. See here, right? I won't get anything. I will get like this even ready, but this is not empty. I can see example. Here because you don't have a data type. It shows you what? The data type, right? We'll see now. I need to create all these things at the right side. I want to define the word. I define this one event type is for the event response. Application JSON. I'll give and all the stuff. My job is simply just get a data type. And if you want to get an example, just to get an example. Next thing is just, you can reuse that one. Next is now what it is. I created the event and I copied up everything and I can, replace that one. Even better, what you do is you can define something called resource type. Resource type is called a resource template. See, I copied the teachers and I just passed it the teacher's code and I changed as an event. Even that is also not necessary. Even you can define some template for this resource. If I just pass it that the resource name to the template, you would create all the code that is called resource type. For the entire resource, I could create a template. Entire resource var. Let me create one resource type. What I want to do is I want to create something. You think that I don't know. The way you show me right now is an easy way to do it. But you're saying that if you know what you're doing, you can have one resource. You can have one resource. Right now we have a student, teachers, and events. Events exactly. The three resources are there. If you define the resource type, there is one template. One template will pass a student to the template. It will be the code. It's like that. That's really. Maybe next time you show me that. But right now let's go. Problem. We'll discuss in the next session. Right now, I want to learn this way right now and practice it. And when I know it, then you can show me how I can combine. No problem. That's what I was thinking, because a lot of stuff here is kind of repetitive, right? It's good to have a way to combine this all into one simple way of doing it. No US assignment is, go through this thing and try to understand about it. Come over it. Click on one point. One point to this space. This space can't open and try to see this one types, the types what the home, it has a distinct type. It is a type of type. I just to have a view on that types. And how to define the query parameters. I did a different query parameters, but we can define query parameters. This one, the query parameters, but yet I want different parameters. I speak to the ground and wants to. Excuse. Try to understand this. This code. Can you go with me this one? We have, and that's a title. I was typed. You call a minute. Media type. You can call it whatever you want. Right. It's the media type. JSON, everything in this Raymond, we are communicating. We are creating JSON. That's one. But media type is an option. It's not a matter. Anyway, you say types right. See here if I can define a media type. This is optional. What kind of you're trying to communicate with X number of this. That's different media types. What is the option? And this type is C in this example, right? Different types over entire types over here. What we do is we get this in a file and we refer the file in our API. We refer that file. Refer this file. But we can define in also here. Also I can define the entire stuff like hold. Here the type they have. You call an organization like org. And under that types. And then we have another type called object. This organization has two properties. One is on call and hit. On call is equal to electable. What is the? That thing is different. Go up. This is like it's another level. There's a type. These are types. And you get organization. An organization was like an organization. An organization has a tool object to properties. But all the properties, we put it together in our example. Go back our example. I thought all the properties need to be next to each other. But this time each property has a different object in each property. Is different. The properties of an object that we can define. See, the organization has two things right now. See what is the different property. It's a type of admin. And the properties. For what type has that been? Let me see. It's not a type of admin. What is admin? Admin is this one. This is a different level. It's kind of. What is admin as a person? Admin is a type of person. Now what is a person? A person. When you define an object, a hierarchy like this, see, it's a person. Admins of type person. And person has the three properties. One is first name, last name, and title. Whereas admin, along with these three properties, first name, last name, and title, he has one more property called clearance level. Admin has a type of person, but he has separate properties. It is a clearance level. For admin, four properties will be there. The admin or person, what are they? They are types. C, person is an object type, whereas admin is a person type. The types only. They are the types. They are custom types, they are custom types. These types we are defining right. Now if a developer is defining these types right, if you design a developer, these are custom types. Your person might be different. If I define a person, my person would be different. I would define different properties for a person, right? But this, I know, the person level here is very easy to understand. What was hard for me to understand was that on the top they have a. Where's the other one? This one like organization one. This is hierarchy structure. See, person is very basic. Basic data type. Person contains 3 properties. First name, last name and title. Whereas admin is a person. Basically, admin is also a person. Admin has 3 names. First name, last name and title. Along with these 3 properties, he has one more property called clearance level. Got? You say under admin type. The type is a person. And the type is a person and it refers to the person type, right? It's going to inherit everything that has a type that as a person has. And then it has one more property called. This one is good. This one is good. Now things are explained, but go up to more. The clearance level value should be only 2 values. You're supposed to either go the organization one. See, a lot of admin is a kind of admin. A lot of admin has one more property called phone. Admin means a person. You say that a learnable admin. And this type is admin. And whatever admin has. Including the clearance level. But you also have an extra property called phone. Alright, go up one more. Alright. On call refers to alertable admin type. Before you go, that she or the type is object. And the properties. This is the normal straightforward property. On-call property. Alertable admin and head manager. On-call property is not a string. It's not an integer. What kind of it is? It is alertable admin type. It has 5 properties. Fields. First name, last name, title, clearance level and phone. Right? Alertable admin has 5 properties. It is an admin with the phone extra properties. Alright. This one is the on-call property. What that thing is not a string. It's not an object. It's not what you call that. What is that called then? It's a custom object. It's the object itself. But actually I'm referring to. This is really another level. Let me practice first of what you told me today, and then maybe we come back to this level. This is really good to design. Even if you practice for traits. Today, right? How do you run the program we just did? That's easy. I just different this example. This is an AP. How can we test? Can we test it? If you want, you can mark it. What conditions? TP. This one. This one. Like we just the other day. Most of the time. As we give an example for most of the, see the URL. Then it wants to. It's supposed to get whatever that. I think it's something like what's the parameter? Something. I I think just permission. Specific information. Without an array. That's you can test. Explain it to an example about. I want to see production. I'm getting single student because I'm asking specific students, right? This part, if I go to that curly braces, therefore I get that specific student. We can also import to any point student. We can see how the flows are generating. That's really good. I'll approach this, and today Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel.